Welcome to the next video. In the last video we have seen how the row measure and the column measure is going to be represented. So that is a two-dimensional array memory representation. So in today's class we'll be exploring how to calculate the location, that is where the element is located in the memory, by using the row measure and column measure order. So to begin with the formula, we have a formula for row measure order for two-dimensional array to calculate the memory position. So here the value that we are going to take up is depending upon the formula. So LOC stands for the location, A is the name of the array we have assumed, I is the index which denotes the row value, J is the index which denotes the column value. Now A of ij, we need to find the position of A of ij, which is equals to, the formula begins with the base address of A. A is the name of the array. So as we already know, the base address is the starting address of the array. So in the pointers concept also, we have studied about the base address of an array. Okay, where we had relationship between array and the pointer, array and the string also. The W is the word length or word space occupied by the each element inside the array. So this W stands for length of the each element. So for integer it will be 4 bytes, for float it will be 4 bytes, for double it will be 8 bytes, for character it will be 1 byte of memory space. N is the number of columns because we'll have a matrix of M cross N, where M stands for number of rows and N stands for number of columns. I is the index that is been represented. LB is the lower bound or lower limit, plus J is the index that is representing the column, minus LB is the lower bound. So that is the formula that we need to write for calculating the address in row measure order. So let us take an example. So considering an array, so an array A of order 25 cross 4, that means 25 rows and 4 columns, with the base address having a value 2000 and the W value is 1 word per memory location, that is W value. We are now going to find the address of A of 12 and 3, that is A of I and J. What we have written here, I stands for 12 and J stands for 3. So in row measure order and even both in column measure order. First we'll see in the row measure order. So given things that we have is the base address of A, that is the value 2000, M stands for 25 and N stands for 4. The word length that we have is 1 and the I value is 12 and J value is 3. Take the formula and place all the values. So location of A of ij, that is 12, 13, sorry, it should be 3. Okay, 12 and 3 is equals to 2000 plus 1 multiplied by N value is 4, 12 minus 0, 3 minus 0, because lower bound will be always 0. So substituting the value, you will have, okay, 12 plus 3, which is done over here, and it will be multiplied by 4 and it will be multiplied by 1. 12 multiplied by, okay, the value which will be equal to 48 and plus 3 will be added together. 1 multiplied by this thing or the entire square bracket will be 1. So 48 plus 3 is equals to 51. So 2000 will be added to 51. So that makes 2051 for the row major order. Similarly, that will be doing it for the column major order. So the column major order, the formula that we will be using is location of A of ij is equals to base address of A plus W I minus LB plus M multiplied by J minus LB. So here N will come, but in the place of row major order, instead of using N in the column major order, we will be using M. So same values we have taken across. Okay, again mistake is same over here. So 2000 plus 1, that is the base address, multiplied by 12 minus 0 plus 25, which is the value of M, minus 3 minus 0. Okay, so that will solve 12 plus 75, that is 25 multiplied by 3 is 75. 75 plus 12 is 87. 87 multiplied by 1 is also 87. 2087. See, the difference is 51 over here. Here the same thing will be 87 in the column major order. So this is how we will calculate the row major and the column major order. Till now there is no question asked for the row major and column major in any of the annual or supplementary examination. Hope this is for knowledge sake, and if it is asked, you should be ready for it. Then comes the conclusion of the arrays, because we have dealt with the arrays, one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array, and even we have dealt with the searching, sorting, okay, traversing, insertion, deletion with a single dimensional array. So we'll conclude this by application, advantages and disadvantages of the array, that is subtopic array. So an array is basically collection of homogeneous elements that you already know. So arrays are used to implement other data structures, now which we are going to discuss in upcoming classes. Like we'll be discussing stacks, queues. You already know about the strings. So a string is a collection of characters. In C++, a string is been implemented as array of characters. So the arrays can also be used to implement heaps, hash tables. Okay, as I told you, queues, stacks and strings. Arrays are used to implement mathematical vectors, okay, and matrices also. So this will be well understood by science students, because matrices and basic math students will also have the matrices. Okay, so matrices is a rectangular or square arrangement of numbers, like how we have seen a two-dimensional array. So vectors is kind of a matrix also, a little bit different. So many databases can also be using the one-dimensional array to store the values or the elements as the records. So all these are the applications of the arrays. Going to the advantages, why do we need an array in the language? So the language, let it be a C language, C++ or the next generation languages, will use the array. It is used to represent multiple data items. That means many items having same data type. That means they all are belonging to the same kind of type. All are integer type, maybe all are float type, all are double type, or all of character type. So we will call the array as a collection of homogeneous elements. So by using a single name, you could now store the elements belonging to the same data type and access them later whenever you require by the help of index or indices. So it can be used to implement other data structures, just what we have discussed in the applications, like they are used in linked list, stack, queues, tree, graphs, etc., which we'll be discussing in upcoming classes, where we'll see how they are implemented using arrays. A two-dimensional array are also used to represent the matrices. Like just now I told you, a rectangular or square type of arrangement of elements or data values or values, okay, so that we can perform matrix addition, matrix multiplication, so on, transpose of a matrix, etc. Many database includes one-dimensional arrays whose elements are the records. Okay, a record is a kind of collection of data items which are of similar type. A record of names studying in the independent PU college, record of date of birth of the students studying in independent PU college, record of fees collected by the independent PU college. So all these are the same kind of things that we have under the records. The next thing is after the advantages, we have the disadvantages. Okay, so disadvantages will talk a little bit later about the arrays. Like before going to the stack concept, let us generally talk about the disadvantages that are present in the arrays. So to be very much specific about the disadvantages of the arrays are fixed in size. So when I declare an array, the array size should be specified to the compiler. Like for example, int x square bracket open 25 square bracket close semicolon. If I write the array size is fixed and it is 25, you cannot increase the size, you cannot decrease the size. So we call them as static in nature. They do not accommodate the changes. Okay, so the changes cannot be applied to the arrays. The next thing is the disadvantage that includes under the arrays are, so as I told you, the array is static in nature. That means the memory which is allocated to the array cannot be increased or decreased. So you'll find this disadvantages in your notes. So the next disadvantage is the elements of the array are stored in continuous or consecutive memory allocation. So it is very much hard to insert an element or to delete an element from the array, and it is very much time consuming because we need to shift the elements from the lower order to higher order in the insertion, and in the deletion we need to shift the elements from higher order to lower order for the deletion, as I told you. So both the things are time consuming. So memory is one of the main concerns because it has to get the continuous memory allocation. Now if there is a scenario where the memory is not available continuously and it is present in different segments or different parts or different pieces, then the array is not suitable. So to summarize the disadvantages, as I told you, before declaring the array, you should know how many elements are to be stored in the array. So array is static in nature, it means the size is fixed. You cannot increase or decrease the size. The very much third point or the last disadvantages that we have under the limitation of the textbook is the consecutive memory allocation that is provided for the arrays. So insertion and deletion is hard or difficult and it is time consuming. So in the next lecture video, we'll start one among the data structure. The important one is the stacks. Okay, Bye bye.